Australia stands at a crossroads, and the nation's future feels more uncertain than ever. Immigration, nationalism, and political tensions are colliding in ways we haven't seen in decades. From heated rallies in city streets to sharp debates in Parliament, the battle over Australia's identity has become urgent, emotional, and game-changing. In recent weeks, rival groups have taken to the streets, waving flags, chanting slogans, and clashing over what it means to be Australian. On one side, nationalists demanding limits on immigration, calling mass arrivals unsustainable and economically destructive. On the other, counter-protesters who see those demands as thinly veiled racism, insisting multiculturalism is Australia's strength. This isn't just noise on the fringes. These rallies mirror conversations happening in homes, workplaces, and political circles across the country. Immigration policy, once a dry debate about visas and numbers, has now become a symbol of deeper anxieties about culture, economy, and national sovereignty. What makes this moment shocking is not just the anger on display, but the scale of division. For years, Australia prided itself on being a multicultural success story, balancing waves of immigration with strong institutions and shared civic values. But today, that balance feels under pressure. Supporters of immigration argue that newcomers fill labor shortages, drive innovation, and enrich society with new cultures and ideas. Critics counter that housing prices are skyrocketing, wages are stagnant, and infrastructure is stretched thin. They point the finger squarely at record immigration levels. At the heart of the debate lies a question few politicians dare to answer directly. Is immigration really to blame for economic hardship, or is it corporate landlords, weak wage growth policies, and underfunded infrastructure? The answer could determine whether Australians continue to welcome newcomers or whether nationalism reshapes the political landscape. At rallies in Perth and Melbourne, people carried Australian flags like battle standards. Some chanted against globalism, warning of socialist agendas and unchecked migration. Others blasted those claims as propaganda, disguising white nationalist ideas under economic concerns. The atmosphere was tense, sometimes hostile, yet always revealing of a nation wrestling with its own identity. One protester shouted that mass immigration is unsustainable, warning of 500,000 arrivals a year. Another countered that developers, not migrants, are hoarding homes, leaving thousands of properties empty while families struggle to rent. Both spoke with conviction, both certain they represented truth. In Parliament, the debate mirrors the streets. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese defends Australia's humanitarian commitments while also trying to reassure voters that migration is carefully managed. Opposition leaders seize on frustrations, framing the government as blind to ordinary Australians' struggles. Neither side has found a message that unites. The game-changing factor here is perception. Whether or not immigrants are truly responsible for rising costs, the belief that they are is fueling anger. Political movements thrive on perception, and in this case, perception could drive votes, policies, and long-term shifts in Australian politics. The economic arguments are powerful, wages are flat, inflation bites, and young Australians see home ownership as a fading dream. When a rally speaker said salaries tripled while house prices rose sixfold, many nodded in agreement. Facts may be debated, but the frustration is real. Counter-protesters stress another point. They argue that immigrants are not the problem but part of the solution. Nurses, construction workers, and engineers from abroad fill gaps that would otherwise cripple industries. To them, the enemy isn't immigration, but inequality. Landlords and corporations, not migrants, drive up housing costs. This clash of narratives highlights what's really at stake. Australia is not just debating numbers, it is debating values. National identity, economic fairness, and cultural belonging are all on the line, and the tension is spilling from policy papers into streets, rallies, and daily conversations. Internationally, this debate matters as well. Australia's stance on immigration shapes its global image. Is it the welcoming, multicultural democracy celebrated around the world? Or is it shifting toward a harder, more nationalist edge, aligning with global populist movements? Allies and rivals are watching closely. The stakes could not be higher. Businesses depend on migrant labor. Universities rely on international students. Communities thrive on diversity. Yet political movements gain traction when they tap into fear, promising to protect real Australians from supposed threats. The result is a nation pulled in two directions at once. In some rallies, signs warned of globalist plots and socialist agendas, painting immigration as part of a wider conspiracy. These claims, though lacking evidence, resonate with groups already skeptical of government, elites, and international institutions. Once fringe, such views are gaining attention. Meanwhile, counter-movements emphasize inclusivity. Activists chant that love is the resistance, celebrating multiculturalism as Australia's greatest asset. They warn that racism, not immigration, poses the real threat to national unity. Their message is hopeful, but often drowned out by the noise of confrontation. The shocking truth is that both sides feel cornered. Nationalists fear losing their cultural identity. Multiculturalists fear a resurgence of racism disguised as policy. Neither group trusts the government to listen. That distrust, more than immigration itself, could destabilize politics in the years ahead. Australia's immigration debate is not isolated. Across the world, from Europe to North America, similar tensions erupt. Nationalism grows as economies falter and cultures shift. Australia now finds itself on the front line of this global struggle, with lessons that could echo far beyond its borders. If leaders fail to address the core anxieties, housing, wages, fairness, immigration will remain a scapegoat. If they succeed, Australia could reaffirm itself as a global example of how diversity strengthens rather than divides. The choice is urgent, and the clock is ticking. The next election could be a referendum on immigration. All eyes are on Canberra, as policies crafted in coming months may reshape the country for generations. The next 48 hours may not decide everything, but the trajectory is clear. Ignore this divide, and the nation risks deepening fractures. Address it, and there is hope for unity. Australia stands at a historic turning point. Immigration, nationalism, and political tension are no longer abstract issues. They are daily realities shaping lives, economies, and futures. The question is whether Australia embraces its multicultural story or retreats into division. For now, the rallies continue, the arguments rage, and the nation waits for answers. What comes next could define not just the future of immigration policy, but the very soul of Australia itself. So, stay with us. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. This is not just a story about politics. It is about the kind of country Australia wants to be. And we'll be here to track every breaking development.